Alright. What's up, everybody? The new patch has dropped, and #1 cheeser in the world, Mr. Vietnamese cheese lord MeomaikA, the man that 2-0'd Maru in a tournament which he was otherwise undefeated in. It's MeomaikA in the top left, going pool first, as he loves to. Do we have sound on? We do now. Down here in the bottom right side, he's up against Foxer from Berserker Esports, a player who's coming in at 5,900, just below 6k MMR on the NA ladder, which puts you at like rank 4 or something, rank 5. It's like top 10, very high on the North American ladder, and Fox is really up there. And what's interesting is MeomaikA is just a weird player who never really enjoyed creep spread that much, doesn't enjoy banelings, he used to love infestors, loves massling, loves hydralisks, and plays like a complete friggin' weirdo. Which is why it's perfect to see how he's going to perform on this new patch. High likelihood of cyclones coming out in pretty much every TVZ. I've been asking pro gamers and saying, are you guys getting wrecked by timing attacks with Marine Tank? What's going on with that new baneling? And most of the Zergs I've asked have said, oh, everyone's just using Cyclones versus me. It's kind of weird. I don't even know if it's that good, but like a lot of Terrans trying to play like Cyclone mech and stuff, and like lots of mech experiments coming out of the Terrans, even though it is kind of the consensus that people think like an 8-Rax Marine Tank push is going to be so hard for Ling Bane to stop, and Zerg kind of will need to play Roaches versus that. So it's really weird right now. We're seeing, you know, everyone's like, that baneling change is going to be devastating. And I'm like, I'm struggling to find pro matches of people even playing the banelings and people even playing Bio. Going to throw down the GG out front the hatchery. Now, we've already got a 4 Zergling pressure coming out. Meo, of course, injects straight away. Gets a second queen on the way. Doesn't even go to kill the SCV. That's MeomaikA's special. Just lets the SCV scout his whole main and get out. Okay, that's a little weird. It is what it is. Now, oh, the Overlord's there. The Lings kind of bait the Marines out of position a little bit, or the Overlord does, and now the Lings come in. Good Marine dance so far. 4 Lings beat the crap out of 2 Marines if the Marines don't micro. But if those Marines stutter step really nicely, they're usually okay. Ooh, loses an SCV. Not bad. That SCV did survive, as I said. Link speed's on the way behind it. So not that fast a gas. He's just droning up, going to 3 queens. You can see he started the 3rd one on the natural. Is he going to go for a creep streamer? Oh my god! To be fair, in the last 2 years, MeomaikA did start occasionally spreading creep and making banelings. 2 things for years he was known for never, ever, ever doing. And Fox is going back. Yeah, double factory, guys. That should be a tech lab, though, right? This should be a tech lab, I'd imagine. He's going to start 2 Cyclones very early. Now, keep in mind, guys, a lot of people I've seen struggling. I finally got a few replays of low and mid-level players dying to Cyclone cheeses. So this is not only me casting MeomaikA because he's a freak, and I'm sure he's going to show us some dumb special strategy that's kind of genius and kind of stupid at the same time. Hold on. That's what I'm talking about. Marines, nice micro, and they do beat those Zerglings up. We're also wanting to give you guys a bit of an instruction on beating the Cyclone. So I've seen a lot of people go double reacted factory. And actually, this is a reactor which is really good for getting a lot of Hellion Cyclone out, but it has so little movement speed. So you need to make sure you don't go Hellions too late. If you don't want to go 4 Cyclones usually, or at least, like, I would say 2 Cyclones, 2 Hellions, or 2 Hellions, 2 Cyclones. You want to make sure you don't go too late into the Hellions, because otherwise you can just get surrounded by mass Zergling. And even though that might not seem like the most solid way to play it, it's kind of like playing against a 3-Rax for the Zerg. You know when Terrans go Command Center first, or 1-Rax expand into 3 barracks, and they hit with like those big 30 Marine pushes around 5 minutes? 5 minutes to 6 minutes. It's kind of like that, where it's really scary and it annihilates you if you don't quite have enough. But if you have an overwhelming number and you come in with a surround, you get like such a good fight, and Terran is just shut off the map for the next 3 or 4 minutes. Zerg can drone to 80 workers, cover the map in creep, and be way ahead. Now, because Fox is not getting the movement speed, he needs to go into Hellion soon. He's going 8 Cyclones, which is actually, I don't know if that's even good. Lings come in, get another SCV. So far, decent trades on both sides. Losing 2 SCVs is not great, but you killed a bunch of Zerglings for it. 3rd gas before 3rd Command Center, so this is an incredibly committed build. Does take out the Overlord there. Still no Hellions building? This is actually just wild. Now, Lings are building, but look, there's only 3 queens. Notice, he's not relying on queens. He's not relying on roaches. This is a very big gamble, but I actually think this might be the safest way to survive at lower levels, even this is like 6k, is just stop at like 40 to 45 workers off not that many queens and just make Zerglings and then go for a giant surround. Oh, the Cyclones know this is a problem. Oh my god. And if you can kill all the Cyclones, it's so worth it. You can see without speed and without Hellions, it's a huge mistake. That's why you need to mix Hellions in. But even if you've got Hellions there, because the Cyclones are so slow without that speed upgrade, they can still get surrounded pretty well. And that is where the mass Zergling is nice. And he's just gone straight Infestation Hydrodan off a quick lair. This is the dumbest build I've ever seen. It's glorious. For those who don't know, Infestors have 1 less cast range. Fungal does 5 less damage. However, The moment those infestors pop out, they have fungal available. They start with pathogen glands. There's no upgrade anymore. They just start with 75 energy. So those infestors are going to pop out with fungal. And if he can get out a few hydras, a few lings, fungal these and surround them, it's basically lights out because he's already up at 56 workers. You don't need to drone that hard as well. This is the other thing you guys really need to keep in mind. If they've gone for this sort of play, there's no third command center. So there's a big difference. A player who's really committing on 2-base, you want a mass army to defend the first wave off about 40, at most 45 drones, and just swarm that first attack, number one. And then drone up a little bit, but you don't need to go to like 70, 80 drones. Even right now, I would say Meo is being incredibly greedy by trying to go up to 64 workers in a 4th base, because that third has just started for his opponent. And he's only got, what, 3 hydras, 10 zerglings, 2 infestors. So he's playing very, very greedy. But that's him realizing, I've got some decent creep spread with these just 3 creep tubers, that's all I need. And my opponent got so hammered by mass zergling, it'd be crazy for him to just shove on creep again. That would be an insane move. Now, he does do a fungal, but he's got very few units to capitalize. Despite that, he's still going to take out 1, 2, 3 cyclones and a Hellion. And he should pull back. Meo should not be chasing because he's so outnumbered. This is a very bad chase for MeomaikA. Does lose a couple hydras there. He's got the Hydra movement speed upgrade. He's also getting Groove Spines. Remember, these upgrades are way faster. This upgrade is 21 seconds faster, Groove Spines, and costs 50 less gas and 50 less minerals. So you actually save a lot of money on these upgrades now, or at least a little bit cheaper. I can't remember the exact numbers on the cost savings. The Lings are running forward. Hydras are going to just let the Lings sacrifice to try to take out the barracks. I guess he decides, hey, I just want to make sure you don't have vision. The Infestors don't have fungal right now, but the barracks is burning, and he's going to pull back. Notice he's going melee and range. He's going to get Carapace as well. He just doesn't have the gas. So he's going to go triple Evo Chamber, Ling, Hydra, Infestor. This is such a gimmicky style, but you know what? I actually think it's great against the Cyclones and the Hellions. This is actually perfectly fine. For some reason, having a mixture of Zerglings in front, even though the Cyclones can immediately lock onto other units, does seem reasonably effective. And just the fact that the bonus to mechanical doesn't apply to any Zerg units, because nothing Zerg has as mechanical, is actually fantastic. So he's just going to basically say, I've got 3 bases. I'm going to try and take a 4th and a 5th, but only really drone them a little at a time. I'm going to mass Hydra Ling, and these 2 Infestors are very important to keep alive this whole time. Now, he's threatening a giant attack, but essentially, if you hold the first attack, you're completely fine. Now, I do think this was a little bit trivial, his first hold, and if there were Hellions there, it might have been slightly harder, but I still think the Ling surround would have worked. The Cyclone Hellion, because they don't get that move speed upgrade until usually earliest 5 minutes, usually about 5:45, you can actually smash and no way. Is he going to kill the command center? Oh, no. Okay, it's just game. It's just game, man. I mean, I love this style, but Foxer is just dead in the water. And we're seeing that you just need to be willing to overwhelm the units and surround them. So there's a few lessons that players who are already good against Cyclones before the patch are applying. And they're winning against Cyclones really easily. And a lot of the mid and lower level players maybe haven't played against the previous Cyclone as much. So they don't know. So the rule of the Cyclone, and this applied to the old one, is the Cyclone is an agile, long-reaching fighter. And he can punch you because he's got, say, a 10-inch reach advantage on you. And you can't punch him. You go, ugh, and your fist just flies in front of his face. And then you get knocked out. So what they want to do is they want to hit you and pull back and hit you and pull back and hit you and pull back and force many small trades where they're kind of just forcing you to chase into them. If you just chase into the Cyclones off creep, they just keep pulling back and picking away and taking good trades. But if at any point you flank or surround them on creep, just overwhelm them and stop them moving, they crumble. They fall apart very quickly. They die very quickly. And they are very expensive in terms of, you might say, well, they only cost as much as a Stalker. We always talk about every time a Stalker dies in TVP, it's a heartbreak for the Protoss because they're so expensive to replace. If you're massing Cyclones, it's huge. Number one, their immediate cost. It's also the factories take a while to get up. And remember, if they're hitting you with like a mass Cyclone off 2 command centers, as I said, you can stop at a pretty low worker count and be completely safe. Mass Ling YOLO's in. That has to be, that's a MeomaikA special, guys. So that's what we call the MeomaikA YOLO. It's where he grabs Zerglings and just shoves them into the worst possible angle. And it doesn't matter because he's so far ahead. But this is one of MeomaikA's favorite things to do, is to just run Zerglings into choke points. If you guys have ever watched the Oceanic Rest of Asia region, Seether vs MeomaikA is a special game because Seether's a very good macro Terran. Not active anymore, but all he would do is just take 3 bases and he'd just wall off and build bunkers and never move his tanks and bio out and just keep them pre-spread. And inevitably, Meo would always just try to attack with mass Zergling into a choke point and lose his whole army and be like, man, it didn't work again. And then the next game, he'd do the same thing again. And we'd be like, oh my God, please stop. If you're willing to just set up the perfect defensive setup you can hold, but not with this supply disadvantage, like, you know Meo's going to ruin you, man. And if Lings get tanks on their own, if they get on top of those tanks, they can find crazy trades. Lings on the right, Lings on the left. Just enough tank fire to kill them all before. If there was another 20 Lings there, they maybe could have done it. He's just running in again. The Lings way in front of the Hydras, but at least he catches a few Cyclones on that left side. He's accidentally attacking those rocks for a moment there. That was a misclick, I think. 89 workers, 222 adrenal glands. He's still massing Zerglings, which, to be fair, they're decent versus Cyclones. They're great versus tanks. They are terrible versus Hellions. But Blue Flame is there, but only +1 attack. And it just doesn't seem to matter with the numbers here, man. Just chucking a Zerg. It's an expression for a reason. And he's going to go for it. Another Ling run by... Oh, the tank fire could do a lot. Unsiege the tanks. Unsiege the tanks. Unsiege the tanks so you could do a lot of friendly fire. Careful, mate. Okay, not too bad there. Meo, happy to... I mean, the Zerglings are very cheap units. He's trading worse, but not that much worse. Not for the economic differential. If you kill the Terrans third, you're on 5 base. It's game over. This is already over. Let's fast forward and let's see where it goes from here because, to be fair, I think we've learned all the lessons we can. So, to summarize, as we get towards what appears to be the final engagement, a swarm coming over the top. Ooh. Lings do surround the Cyclones on the left. Not clean trades, but any trade's a decent trade when you're this rich. You don't even care, man. There's just not enough Hellions to split on both sides. He's lost all of his Hellions now. Oh, this is a sad game for Foxer. Yeah, it's all about not letting the Cyclones sit on the edge of your territory and just pick away units. So a lot of people are going slow roaches. And while slow roaches are decent if they have a lot of Hellions, and you do want to get roach tech with a more normal response if you're not just playing mass Zerglings around like Meo was relying on. Because his style is, don't get me wrong, a bit gambly. You can play roaches, but you can't rely on them versus pure Cyclone. Not until roach speed is out are they any good because they're so slow and Cyclones can kite them to death. On the other hand, you've also got Zerglings. If they're pure Cyclone, mass Zergling is great. Heavy Hellion, mixing in more roaches and Ravagers is good. And you can play a heavy Queen style. I've still been doing that and having great success. But definitely the earlier they commit to just mass Cyclone, if it's on 1 base, I would probably mass Zerglings off like 30 drones. If it's 2 base, I max Zerglings or Zergling Roach off 40 to 45 drones at most. If it's 3 base, cool, we can go right up to 60 workers before making a lot of those fighting units. But as long as you stick to your fundamental knowledge with that, you'll find it's actually quite okay. The frustrating thing with the Cyclone is it's a move and shoot unit. So if you overextend into them, they can like chase you down because they're move and shoot, especially once the speed upgrade's done. So it's hard to retreat from them. And because that moves and shoots and that's not a mechanic you often see in RTS, a lot of players get frustrated and you feel this kind of like your brain is melting as you watch these units just like YOLO on your position. So if they have superior numbers, they will F you up harder than any other style of unit, right? Move and shoot units, like same thing with Phoenix. Like you can't really run away from them. If they outnumber you, they just jump on top and murder everything in an air versus air fight. There is a very one-sided nature to the engagements with the Cyclones, and that is the most important thing you need to prepare for. Make sure you are just preparing your units at the right time and actually getting on out there. The other problem I think a lot of players have is finding their moment to counterattack. They feel like the Cyclones keep them back for a long time. I think definitely doing some backstabs is really nice. Neuro had a great video where he kept doing a lot of Ling backstabs to do damage, as well as just kind of spreading creep, building up his army. And I really think Infestors are absolutely fantastic. Like, if you can just pump out, drop an Infestation Pit at lair, get 2 or 3 Infestors, it's amazing. You don't need to be a god of using Infestors, but if there was ever a time to enjoy using Infestors, like I am effing up Bio-Terrans, Cyclone Terrans with that new Infestor. I'm having so much fun with it. Don't, you know, commit your whole build to do it, but if you get a few Infestors out like we saw here, that's going to be smooth. And I did want to show this game because let's go back to that first surround on those Cyclones, which was what, like 5 minutes or something, right? When was it? I was a little bit, it was a pretty fast timing, guys. Like this was a kind of crazy attack. I think it was, let's check the timing. So this was an expansion, but it was an expansion into double factory reactor, which is a crazy committed build, massively delays speed, massively delays the third base because they're getting gases on their natural before third command center. And this was a 5-minute timing with 6 Cyclones at 5 minutes on the edge of creep. So that's a pretty damn fast timing. But Meo got 44 drones. He's got his Zerglings up. If he'd gone 6 or 7 Queens, he might have had to try to defend on this ramp for a little bit, do some transfuses, wait until he gets more Zerglings out, or even bring his Zerglings around to surround those units, which is what I've been doing a lot more. But there is an elegance to what he's doing where it's like, I'm just going to mass Zergling, and when you come too deep on creep, I'm just going to surround. And it's kind of gross how good it is, man. So don't underestimate the power of mass links around. If you guys want the easiest way to defend Cyclones, even though it's a bit of a gamble, I think this is it. I don't think it's 100% solid if they decide to just mass Hellions out of those factories, but I think it's very hard for these Terran players doing these builds to actually get information on what you're doing. So I would say mass Ling, easiest way to do it. Always build a Roach Horn for safety, unless you're a Mad Dog. And if you guys want to really Mad Dog it, rush Lair, get Hydrogen and Infestation Pit, build Pistol Queens, Pistol Mineral Economy, and just be a psychopath Vietnamese player. Good luck on the ladder, everyone. Hopefully you're inspired by this. I'll bring you more Meo games, as I'm sure he's going to be a creative, weird genius on this patch.